Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Balls Out podcast and another episode of Red Devils Roundup. It's the same kind of story at Man United this week, but as usual, there is plenty of talking points in the soap opera that is Manchester United Football Club at the moment. And I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Mark, Naomi, and Jay to chat through everything Manchester United this week. Mark, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, mate. As I said backstage, I'm doing better for Manchester United. But there's a lot to get into, so it'll be interesting to see all the different takes we get.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too difficult to be doing better than Manchester United at the moment anyway. So, yeah. And Naomi, how are you keeping?
I'm doing good, thank you. Just bearing through this cold winter, and the games don't really help the morale, so I've just been doing my own thing outside of that.
Yeah, same over here in Ireland, just full of cold. Winter has just leaked into spring now, and we don't know when it's going to end. So, yeah, same story over here. Jay, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, yeah, same boat on a different part of the sea. You know.
Yeah, okay. Look, we'll get straight into it. So, look, Mark, we'll start with Sunday's game against Spurs. None of us really went into it with much hope. It was kind of a relegation six-pointer the way both teams have been going recently. What did you make of the game overall?
First half, I didn't
Who were
even
going to play me? Oh, sorry.
but yeah, what can we say? I thought Dogu was good. I thought certain players were trying to do their jobs. Same old players refused to do the jobs they're asked to do. Yeah, considering my best mate's a Tottenham fan, and even he hasn't even sent me any abuse about it. Says more than anything. Yeah, I was more concerned about the chants that were getting picked up in the background. I don't know if we'll come on to them, but some of them were more worrying than anything else, especially at the end of the game when the players went over to the fans. So yeah, the game, I can pick it apart. Game of two halves. Were we better in the second half, or did Tottenham just run out of steam because they're as worn out as we are? But in all, it was a crap goal to concede. Saw it coming. Should we have scored? Yes. We were probably the better team overall, but that's the best of a bad bunch. It's not we were good. It was we weren't as bad going forward. So yeah, but I don't know what everyone else thinks.
Yeah, I think it says everything about where both clubs are that you have James Maddison releasing TikToks after the game calling out Roy Keane, and they're sitting in 14th position. I mean, Jesus, if you ever had to see a reason as to why Spurs haven't won a trophy in what is it now, 18 odd years, I think that sums it up right there. Naomi, did you catch the game on Sunday? What did you think?
Yeah, I caught the game. I don't know, part of me wish I had it. I actually woke up a little early that day, so I was like there for the pre-match, the YouTube videos, everything. But yeah, it was kind of boring, honestly. I was just like having breakfast and trying to watch it. And yeah, I guess we're not surprised, but again, when you're put up against a team like Spurs, you get a little excitement that because there's a real possibility because just like their record and how not good they are. But they've beaten us three times, and I think I brought it up before, but one of the most annoying things to me is like when commentators bring up all these um, records that we had or records that we're helping other teams build. And apparently, we broke like a 1990s or 1980s record by letting them beat us three times in a row, letting them beat us at home. So I just hate that. Like, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because every year since David Moyes took charge, I'm looking at these records tumble, and I was at a point even last season where I thought to myself, surely there is no more negative records that we have to tumble, but they just seem to pull out a new record every single week on Sky Sports, BT Sports, and it's like, how low do we have to sink? Is it going to have to be relegation before these records just completely stop? But Jay, yeah, may I come to you? 4 wins now in 14 Premier League games under Ruben Amorim. I mean, we all know that it's not solely the manager's fault. That goes without saying. But like, how concerning is this overall? Because let's be honest here, if the three teams in the bottom three weren't as bad as what they were, we would be in some serious trouble right now.
Yeah, I was talking to me pal. Yes, I think it was yesterday or the day before about it, and I was saying a similar thing. If the three teams in relegation was better than what they was, we'd be in so much trouble, because I think in order for us to get relegated, we'd have to lose every single game going, and I think it's Ipswich would have to win 4 games, which is not I mean, it's not unheard of, but since they've said it, I just thought it sounds like a record that Man United would break. Like it just at the moment it just seems like what something we would do. But no, it's not purely on. I mean, there's a lot of backstage stuff that needs to be sorted out. A lot of toxic needs to get out of the club. A lot of new faces needs to come in for better reasons. Yeah, it's a mix of both, but it's he said it when he come in. It's gonna get worse before it gets better, and everyone thought the worst has happened. It hasn't yet. Like we're maybe we're going to the worst, but I don't think the worst is yet to happen. If I'm honest.
Yeah, we'll touch like on the next few fixtures later on the show. But Mark, I'll come back to you in relation to Sunday's game, and we touched on a slightly there before backstage. Apart from Victor Lindelof on Sunday, the entire Manchester United bench was made up of teenagers, and look, that was down to a mixture of injuries and a lack of squad depth. But it was the first time I really seen Amarim come under really serious negative, what would you say, press from Manchester United fans when he brought on Chidobe in the 90th minute. The chap didn't get a touch of the ball. I mean, when you've got so little to lose, I know he referenced the fact that the Premier League is so tough, but I mean, the senior players are finding it tough at the moment. So, I mean, surely a couple of those young guys who are absolutely flying it with the under 18s at the minute and the academy, surely they could have brought a bit of fresh air and a bit of confidence into that Manchester United team. What did you make of that decision on Sunday?
So let's address the fact they're on the bench, right? That shows we have no players, no fit players. Also shows that our 21s aren't good enough, because you don't forget the oldest player was 19. Yeah, so there's still players older than 19 in that squad that weren't good enough to come up. Now, a few have gone out on loan. Hugo's doing all right. Wheaton was out. These are players who potentially could have been sitting there in front of these, but we've given them. Dan Gore's just come back injured after only 1 game. So we've got injuries, and now our youngsters and loanees are coming back injured. So there is something seriously, fundamentally wrong with our medical staff. I was preaching about it last year. This just doesn't happen. We brought in Arsenal's doctor, and someone explained to me how Arsenal has the worst injury record in the Premier League, and it's gone to one of the best by losing that doctor to Manchester United. Now, can't just be a coincidence, but if you check the stats, it is night and day in what we used to get injured to what we're getting now. And that's because everything's data-driven. He brought Obi on. Those 18-year-olds, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, they are not good enough physically to play in the Premier League. They were there to make up numbers. I've got the 18s on now. I said I was watching it, and I watched the 21s match last night as well. The level of football that they play is conference level. That's how slow and steady it is. That's why they're in, I don't know what it's called now, Johnson's Paints Trophy. I think it's Bristol Motors Trophy. That's why they play there. They do not play against adults. They do not play adult football. The Premier League is not adult football. The Premier League is like the creme de la creme. So these kids, they get destroyed. Now, every now and then, you get a superstar. In 1996, that's really when the class of 92 came into their own, didn't they? Class of 92 came through. We went 99. It comes in fits and starts, but they weren't constantly amazing. They grew together. We might have that. That might be that bench you see. But People have been saying about Amas, why is he never playing? These kids now don't get a chance for the rest of the week. They go 2 weeks without football because the FA rules state if you're involved in a match, you cannot play for the first team. But if you're involved with the first team, you can't go back to your 18s or 21s. So success is bred. Do it at your level. Yes, train with the first team. Come in, help out. When they want to play a full 11-a-side match, you go against them. We do it at our club. Pretty much every club will bring 18s and 21s or 23s in to play against the first team to give exposure.
Yeah.
What is Amring meant to do? What is the age of the players we are now buying? We're not buying anyone experienced. We're not buying anyone who can come in and go, it's all right, mate, I'll teach you what to do. Follow me. We have a captain who I wouldn't follow through a wet paper bag, let alone a brick wall. So they're not learning anything. Amrin came under a lot of pressure because Obi came on for, 3 minutes? Do you think he would have got a touch if he come on for 15 minutes? Because the ball was never up the other end of the pitch.
Yeah.
It was constantly coming straight back down to us because we were playing long balls and can't keep it in midfield. Can't keep it in midfield because our midfielder, Bruno, is running around like a headless chicken. And I think it might have been Mark in our chat said, well, I thought he gave up in the last 15. Your captain should never give up.
Yeah.
That's the one last person coming off the pitch. So, is it Amrin's tactics? Is it? But did we not just have Erik ten Hag with different tactics? Did we not have Ralph Ragnick who said these boys can't run and we need open heart surgery? And yet they can. We're definitely the unfittest team in the league. So I don't know what you could say. What those kids will get a chance. He's right because there's more injuries on that pitch waiting to happen. DeLitt, Maguire, Heaven played last night for the 21s. Nothing special. Yeah. First game for Manchester United playing in under 21s, and he literally didn't touch the ball. He got caught under the ball. He wasn't playing free-flowing football like Arsenal. So you can see he's learning. They were playing a back three. They were switching to a back three, so they're obviously trying to teach tactics to all age groups now. Who else was on the bench? I think Skelly wasn't on the bench, was he?
Can't quite remember.
His quality.
Yeah.
So yeah, Fletcher's doing okay.
Yeah.
He's doing better than his twin brother. But again, you weren't going to bring him on in the midfield. You're going to take Bruno off for a 17-year-old. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Are you going to take who was else? Casemiro. Casemiro came off for a striker. Now, there's a lot being said about Casemiro this week. I think that's coming from the club, been starting this stuff. So we'll get onto that later. But that bench, it was sacrificial lambs.
Yeah.
I think it's the one thing Ten Hag refused to do is the one thing Amrin now has to do because he has no choice. We've now loaned out players and he has no one left. Yeah. Right now, we need Anthony. 4 goals, 4 assists, 4 games.
Yeah.
But that just shows why the Spanish league is rubbish. The Portugal league is rubbish. Players can perform in these leagues because they're not the Premier League.
Yeah.
Rant over.
we'll end the show there. Mic drop. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, and especially on the note of experienced players, because look, we all want to see young players incorporated into the team. I mean, we saw what a difference Garnacho and Manu have made over the past couple of years, and probably have been a bit overplayed because of the circumstances at Manchester United, and we're seeing that even taken to another level, as you said there now. And I seen a stat on Twitter today that it's actually a year to the day since Luke Shaw started his last game for Manchester United.
Wow.
And I think in that time, someone said that he has earned £8 million, and that's how much the club have made back on the amount of redundancies they've made on normal working class people at the club. So look, I mean, that just sums up the situation we're at the moment. I think it's about 9 weeks since Mason Mount went off after 7 minutes in the Manchester derby. I mean, these are your experienced players that we need in their prime and guiding these young players. And look, they're AWOL, unfortunately, and that's the mess that the club find themselves in. Naomi, Mark just kind of touched on it there with relation to Casemiro. He is one of our more experienced players, and he came out with a comment there over the weekend that he's happy to see out the last 18 months of his contract at the club. Now, I think it's obvious that the club are trying to move him on. He doesn't fit the Amorim system. He hasn't got the legs. I mean, I think of a stat there. If he stays until the end of his contract, he'll pocket another £25 million. I mean, how big of a problem is this for the club, having such a high earner that's just not making any impact on the first team?
It's just a tale as old as time itself, honestly. Um, I mean, I was during the transfer during both the transfer windows this summer. Actually, all four transfer windows, the last four transfer windows,
Mm-hmm.
I've just been looking at it like, okay, you want to, especially this last two, um, I'm like, okay, you want to get rid of players. Okay, like you're not happy with the front. But no one was actually looking at these players, which we decided like 2 summers ago that we needed to move on, or like this summer. No one expected Casemiro to return to the squad. And he's incredible as a person and as a footballer, but like we dragged it out. We prioritized other deals. I don't know what everyone feels about that. Like I thought it was kind of ridiculous. But that's the case for Casemiro, Lindelof. We already knew that we had to move them on. We circulated the news. They know that we're trying to move them on themselves. And then now you're depending on them. Do you see the irony in that? Um, and with just like the experienced players, but something I noticed was like during the game, like right at the beginning after the national anthems and stuff, they did a little huddle. And I was like, holy shit, this is just kids here. And, I always say you need an adult on the pitch, especially in the Premier League, because they just toss them like they're like nothing. Like even Hoyland, he's he's a bit buff for his age, and he's a little like physically stronger, I would say, than Garna and stuff. But they don't care. They literally just flip them. They throw them around on the field, and that's why you need your Harry Maguires. That's why you need your Casemiros. Although right now he's not really the best fit. Um, and yeah, I mean, if he said that, I didn't see his comment, but it's good to hear that he said that, although I don't know if he's showing it, but it's good to know he feels that way because from people who know him directly, like I've heard very good things about his character. And if he's like, okay, I'm gonna try my best and, see my contract out and support my team the best I can, I think that's what you want to hear. I don't really know how that's going to translate on the field because, with him, with Ericsson, we know we love having them, but they're just not they're just not physically able to play at the level that we want them to play. But yeah, you can't build the first team with everyone who's under 24. Like you literally can't do that. You're going to regret it. And yeah, just with Rashi leaving, um, who else? Anthony, I mean, I'll never miss him. Like we can lose 20 straight games. I'll never be like, let's bring him back. But yeah, it's just you need adults on the pitch. Like that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, 100% makes sense. In fairness, in relation to Ericsson and Casemiro, you do need characters like that in the dressing room. I think the situation we find ourselves at the club at the moment is that we kind of need them too much. I think the likes of Casemiro and Ericsson would be great squad additions if the overall squad was more in its prime and we could use them in a more rotational manner where they're playing maybe one game a week. They're guiding the youngsters in a positive way. Whereas we're throwing Casemiro in, he hasn't started a game and I don't know how long, and you're throwing him into a game in a two-man midfield with Bruno Fernandes, who isn't a deep lying midfielder. There's no legs beside him. We've seen earlier on the season that his legs are gone. He needs to play in a system that protects him, and Ruben Amorim's system kind of does the opposite. But look, he's not going to alter his system for one player, as he's made clear in his press conferences on numerous occasions. Jay, we seen more leaks coming out there. I can't remember, was it yesterday or today, from Mike Keegan in the Daily Mail about the dressing room, players coming out and saying that they are unhappy with Ruben Amorim's tactics and they feel that a more pragmatic approach is needed. And we've seen this game before. I mean, we've seen it under Ten Hag, we've seen it under Ollie, we've seen it under Jose. I mean, I don't know who the players think they're fooling at this point now, but you'd want to be a fairly stupid Manchester United fan to think that the players are innocent this time and the manager is at fault.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think it's boy who cried wolf too many times.
Yeah.
You just, I mean, you give them the benefit of the doubt, especially if you haven't got the top managers, quote, like the Peps and stuff like that. If you had, like, if we, yeah, I'm not going to go on to different managers, but yeah, it's bizarre that you can go to work. The people who pay you, you don't you don't listen to them in that sense of it. You don't like do the basics of what he wants you to do. Um, I mean, if you was anyone else, you'd get sacked and get replaced straight away. Um, so yeah, it's very bizarre that they can just go, "Oh, it's not us; it's the manager again." Hang on a minute, guys. Come on, you've got to pull your socks up a bit now and take a bit of like responsibility. Yes, fair enough. I've not been pulling my weight. Just say that. Fair enough. I've not been pulling my weight. Neither has the boys. Let's move on to tomorrow, and let's get the ball rolling again. But it's just sort of a circle back to square one, and it's just never revolving.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous because look, I've played Sunday League football myself, and look, I mean, you've played under different managers who play different systems, and look, it's a different context, but you just get on with it. There's some formations you might prefer playing in than others, and there's some formations you might have to run more in than others. But long story short, you just get on with it. And the reality is, these guys have the luxury of being paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week to play for one of the biggest sporting institutions in the world. And because they've been asked to play in a slightly out of position formation, they're throwing the toys out right now. We want another manager sacked because we want to look good under a system that suits us. I mean, Mark. I mean, at this point, like it's just. I mean, do you see any of these players here succeeding at the club? Because I've tweeted a few times and I've put in our group chat a few times. I mean, that I don't see any of these players ever lifting a Premier League title in a Manchester United shirt because I just don't think any of them cut the mustard. Do you see any player in that squad that will ultimately be successful under Amorim long term?
I think that's an awkward question. Do I see him being a player being successful? I see quite a few players that could be successful. Will they be successful at Manchester United? Probably not.
Yeah.
We've just touched on a lot that our players are young. What is the thing we say about young people in general? They are impressionable, right? So, a few things we say about Casemiro. I think his quote was mistranslated. What he said.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to stay at Manchester United and he has a contract. And it's been now put out in England, Naomi, that he's saying, I'm not going to leave. I've got a contract. I'm going to see out and take my 25 million.
Mhm.
Whereas somewhere else, say in South America, it's no, I'm a Manchester United player. I want to stay here and see my contract out. Same words, different interpretations.
Yeah, yeah.
Casemiro is a leader. I've followed Real Madrid all my life as well as Man United because I spent half my life in Spain, half my life like in England growing up. And he's a legend at Real Madrid for his leadership. The reason he can't lead is either he gets shouted down because he's lack of English, so he can only communicate in Portuguese, Spanish, and I don't know what other language he does, but it's definitely he can speak fluent Spanish and Portuguese, pretty much the same language, but having played in Portugal as well as Spain. So that everything gets translated. And that's one of the reasons he doesn't wear the armband as often as most people think he should. Which probably right now he should understand all tactics. Yeah, because it can be communicated to him in a language he knows. But at what point do you give up? Now, you can be Sunday League, you can be semi-professional, professional, county league, whatever. If you have the wrong people around you and you're under contract, and the way the world works in this day and age, we don't leave, do we? We'll see out my contract. I'll take the money and I'll go on a free somewhere else because Casemiro could still leave us and go to Saudi. He
Mm-hmm.
could get the best of both worlds because his name carries that much weight. Marcus Rashford's gone to Aston Villa. Has anyone seen this Marcus Rashford? Because He's not been playing for Man United for the last couple of seasons. You know, he looks brilliant. He looks fresh, revived, and it's amazing what you got to do when you've got to fight for your place because your contract carries no weight there. So now he has to come out and play. Players have to run in the Amarin lineup. Was it last year or the year before where they complained about double training sessions and going home in the dark?
Mm-hmm.
Double training sessions mean you do fitness in the morning, you do tactics in the afternoon. That's pretty much how you would break down a double training session because you're not going to run them for both. You run them hard, you rest, and it'll be things like, I want you in this specific space, or we do TV work, and it'll be things like that. So again, a footballer doesn't work as hard as you think. They don't really do more than 90 minutes training in a day.
Unless you're Cristiano Ronaldo.
Anthony as well. I said 4 goals, 4 games. All these people coming away from Man United. Sancho was cooking at Chelsea and he's fallen off a cliff as soon as he started getting pulled out for his quotes. You know, he was doing okay when playing 1 week, having the next week off, playing 1 week. So, Jay, you said it was very toxic. Yeah? Man United is toxic. So how do you get rid of toxicity? You
Just
can't.
remove them. Well,
You can try, but this is a professional company. This is one of those things where you go, well, the only way we're going to truly root it out is just get rid of everyone. We can't do that.
I suppose,
You can't get rid of your staff. You can't say, this department's not working, let's get rid of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do we do? What do we do? It's definitely destroying itself from the inside out. These leaks are absolute rubbish because some of these players, 1 week we got a leak saying Amarin has favourites, and now this week we got a leak saying Amarin, the players are basically giving up on him and can't do his tactics. His tactics are no different to Ten Hag's. Like, if I could put a tactical board on here, I'd show you exactly how Ten Hag's build-up play is the same as Amarin's, and they all left 3 at the back. The difference being we're not using a CDM, we're just staying with 3 centre-backs and including our midfielders going forward. The overlaps are still the same. Garnacho is still not passing the ball onto someone on an overlap, nor did Marcus Rashford, unless it was Luke Shaw. Anthony was the same on the other. He would cut in and shoot. Unfortunately, we've lost Ahmad, who was the only one who was doing the give and goes and that on the right. The tactics are the same. The build-up patterns are the same. The players are the same, but the manager's not. So how is it the manager's fault? Do you see what I mean? He's the easy person to blame. Oh, but he should play the tactics to the players we have. Well, someone wants to know what those tactics are because it's not 4-3-3 and apparently it's not 3-5-2, which is also 4-4-2. So what are our tactics?
Yeah.
Do you want to just say, I'll tell you what, lads, no tactics. Here's the board. And I'll just draw some squiggly lines up and you just go out and play and have fun. Because that's how our players want to play. They just go and express themselves and they don't want to be disciplined. And top clubs can do that. Man City express themselves, right? And their lack of tactics is why they're getting exploited at the back now because they haven't got Kyle Walker's pace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Real Madrid have fallen off a cliff in La Liga, but they're still. That shows you the difference between Barcelona and Real Madrid's level in that league. Because when they come into the Champions League, they're still likely to win it. But at Man United, if you're asked to do something, we don't. We'd rather put a leak out. Bear in mind, these leaks are probably coming from agents, not even the players. They're agents, they're the kit man, they're anyone who needs the money because, let's be fair, Man United probably cutting their wages, you know, with all the redundancies. Yeah. So now they're all fighting if we can get as much money in as possible. You know, there's a lot. The football is a horrible, horrible, dark place. And only when you sort of been around people who are there, you start to realise, and you only got to listen to the ex-pros now. I said earlier, they're changing their minds. They're not blaming the manager. They know it's the players. They know outrightly it's the players because no one does extra sessions.
Naomi, do you want to come in now?
Yeah, I was just thinking a lot about because I'm just finding out about the leak here, and I was like, just thinking, why do we have yet another leak? And I feel, Mark, like you addressed that pretty well. Yeah, because we're a professional football club. We should not be leaking this kind of stuff to the media, especially like we're not happy with the manager. What is wrong with you? And I call them out on both sides, like when the manager isn't protecting the players, but the same, it goes both ways. Like if you want that respect, then you have to protect your manager. And it's really disappointing because I feel like we just went through this with the alleged Garnacho leak, and like that made headlines. We dealt with it, and now we are in the exact same boat, just like a few months later, and like we really don't need this right now. Um, and it's,
Yeah.
I mean, whoever is leaking it, players, agents, like y'all are full of it. If you think that you're doing your best on the field, like that's ridiculous. You're not doing your best, and you know that you're not doing your best. So it's just weird to see this leak. Like, is it even worth our time, like reading it and stuff like that? Because like you said, Jonathan, like, do they think we're stupid? It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I
Especially
think
when Cameron defended the players. Every bloody game, he's defending the players. No,
yeah,
it's on me. It's on me.
yeah.
And then they're leaking. It shows
Yeah,
utter disrespect.
Yeah.
But I put that down to age and a culture.
yeah. It's
Can
really
I
disrespectful.
sorry.
Yeah, and I
Sorry?
was just gonna say, like, we every week we're talking about Amorim's tactics, right? Like every single week, every channel and every United channel is talking about it. But like really, we're not even asking you about the tactics. We're just asking you to do the basics at this point. And I feel like this Sunday's game was just another testament to that.
We completed very few passes, like 4 or 5 pass moves. Doesn't happen. And we're talking 5-yard passes. It's pass, smack it long. Pass, smack it into a corner.
Yeah.
Bruno was horrendous at giving the ball away, I thought, on a Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's been pulled up by other channels as well, but some of them people might think have agendas. But look at his passing stats. You can go online. There are places you can go and just look for the Opta stats, things like that. His completed passes that is so low for a professional footballer.
Yeah.
The best teams do the basics well: pass,
Yeah.
run, move, and that's all Man City do. I hate talking about City, but we all look up to them for their style of play because every team's copied it now. It's been 10 years; they've all copied it. Academies teach it. Whatever you do, it's all pass out, pass. But it's no long balls. It's all 5-yard, 10-yard passing without losing the ball. I'll pass it, either go in a safe space or move into an attacking space. We don't do that. We pass the ball. We stand still. It is like watching little kids play football.
Yeah.
Amarin defends them saying they don't know what they're doing. They don't want to make the wrong move. But do you know what? I'd rather see the wrong move and then you chase back than stand there and just give the ball away and go, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can I ask you all a question as well? See, when Amarin come in, and I've not, I support him. I'm pure Amarin in. Obviously, anyone that's Amarin now is stupid. But like, do you think he shot himself in the foot when he said, "I will not change from 3-5-2"?
No, I don't think so at all. I think that was what the club was calling out for. I think I was on so many shows last year when we were under our previous guys of the weekly armchair. We used to have Man United shows, and I used to say with Ten Hag, the biggest mistake Ten Hag made when he came in was changing his tactics after that Brentford game. I know he was under pressure, and we all looked at it, and we went on a nice little run with a good season, won the Carabao Cup, we got top four, but it was the biggest mistake he made because he gave in to player power straight away. And I know we all thought he'd taken hold of that changing room with that big, massive 12K run he got the players on afterwards. But I said it so often, you cannot let the tail wag the dog. You have got to, like, Ten Hag got that job because of what he'd done at Ajax, and he came in and abandoned it all. And Amorim got this job because of his formation at Sporting, because of the way the players playing. And he said it himself, and that's what I think Man United fans love about him. It's the honesty. He came in and said, this is going to suck, and it's going to suck so hard for so long. but we will get there. And he keeps on referencing the end of the season because he said it. He didn't want the job before the end of the season. That was well documented. He wanted this job in the summer. But you know what? I think long term, this is going to be a good thing because he's getting a chance now. He's 8 months ahead of schedule. He's seen the guys who aren't running from the Rashford situation now. It's done. Okay, he's only on loan. Villa may not buy him, but in the summer, it's a case of, well, look, you're not part of my plans, gone. We don't have to listen to a whole summer of, is Rashford in his plans? Is not? Is he going to start the first game of the season? Oh, no, he hasn't. We have to go on to the end of the transfer window in August. So this is painful. It's going to get a lot more painful. It could ultimately end up with us being relegated. Highly unlikely, but it could happen. And even if we do get relegated, I still think we should stick with Amram because we have got to get past this player power. If he changes his formation now, he's done. He's done. And Gary Neville even said as much on Sunday. He changes his formation now, he's done. Simple as that.
I have a question. So you just referenced it. Ten Hag came in and he said his words, and I quote, "They can't play the football I played at Ajax."
Yeah.
They're basically his quotes. Amorim is now basically at the point of they can't play 3-4-3. So we've got one person who says they can't do passing football and keep retention of the ball. And we've got one person that requires high energy, sort of Liverpool gegenpress, up and down, straight line running. What does that mean that our players are capable of doing? Because we're talking about two basics there.
Yeah.
Two things that from a kid got them into these academies. Run hard.
Yeah.
And you do what we tell you. You pass the ball. You can't get the tricks if someone can't pass you the ball. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how good you are at tricks and finishing and things like that. Because if you can't pass the ball, a striker can't score goals. A defender gets caught on the ball because he can't get it out of defence, or it just gets lumped long. If you lump it long, you're not getting picked up by a professional club. Right? These are basics. So that's two managers. And I always like to put in the Ragnick open heart surgery because he's the only honest guy ever at Manchester United because he knew he wasn't staying on. He could be honest, brutal and honest.
Yeah.
And the other one was Louis van Gaal because he's brutally honest as well.
Yeah.
You are right. We're 8 months ahead. But do you all believe now that these players have literally been stopping the managers from achieving what they want to achieve? Because you can't do it all in one go. It is in stages. I think it was Sam Allardyce said, first thing you do, you go into a club, you stop the team from conceding goals. But unfortunately, we're still losing, but we're losing by less goals. I think someone put the averages out earlier. We've gone from like 17 down to 15, and now it's like 11 shots per game on goal. So we are improving. You've got to get the defending right before you can attack. Because if you can't get the ball back, you can't go on the attack.
Yeah, attack starts from defence, doesn't it? They say.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot there, but it's just starting to all now become clear. I think to a lot of fans, but I think a lot of us are in denial. Not maybe on this channel, but I think as Manchester United fans, I think the world has changed, and you support a team, and your favourite player is who you support. Whereas my favourite, I learned at an early age, don't pick one player to support. Don't put a name on the back of your shirt because they leave and you cry, right? But Brian Robson, Mark Hughes, Eric Cantona, David Beckham, and then Ronaldo, but I never had his name because I was already too old by the time he had him. But they are people I could follow that led Man United on, right? Now, I would still go, but I support Manchester United. When Eric Cantona kicked the thing, player, forget about Cantona, I've focused on Man United. Whatever happened, Beckham left, focus on Manchester United. Have you noticed now the fans all focus on the player and what's going on rather than the club?
Yeah.
It's always what's going on. But without what goes on the pitch, the name Manchester United means nothing. The protests have started back up, but we're still, I believe, putting the wrong message out. Stop backing players. Start backing the club.
Yeah, I think that comes hand in hand with the lack of success on the pitch, doesn't it? I think fans are just they're starved for something, and when they see a player have a few good games, well, I can get behind that, even though the club is still shit. He's scored 6 goals in 6 games. Oh, he's my new favorite player. But look, I mean, like you said, Mark, we could have hours and hours and hours about discussion about the rot that's in the club. But we'll move on. And Naomi, I'll come quickly to you on this one because I know you're a bit of a Jadon Sancho fan. In the last week, we did see him on social media again, and Marcus Rashford obviously moved on loan to Villa, and then we saw the Instagram post from Jadon Sancho saying freedom. I mean, this is a guy who we've already seen lose form at Chelsea, who had started quite well but has kind of fallen off a cliff a bit now. What did you make of that comment from a player who is just not really at the top of his own game at the moment, but yet making comments about other clubs and other players?
Um, I mean, it's not great, but like, you know, it's embarrassing what happened between United and Sancho, and I'm not sure who it's more embarrassing for, probably him. But he's a little salty about it. I like obviously I know he's upset at us. Um, like I don't think the general United community should be bothered. Like we've moved on. Um, but like, for me it's personal, I understand. So like yeah, if he wants to be salty and he wants to be like he wants to comment and stuff, then like that's him. But he's still on loan from us, so I didn't that part was a little odd, even though like they have obligations to buy blah 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 whatever. Um, so yeah, and then I also didn't really appreciate that it was like on Marcus's post. Like you could make that comment on your own Twitter.
Yeah, yeah.
And I heard something across the lines like Marcus wasn't really happy with it and stuff. But I mean, I don't think he talked to anyone about it. Honestly, I don't know if he cared that much. But if it's true and he was like, and he didn't appreciate it, like I get that because he did everything kind of by the books, which was a little different. So, um, but yeah, I like honestly as United fans, I really should be concerning ourselves with it. I saw some of like there are some Jadon Sancho fan pages and they like made a statement and stuff. I'm like, guys, like this is not worth your time. He's just being salty. Like, there was a bad breakup. So, it's like whatever. But he did make himself a meme all over X, so sorry, bro. But yeah, it is it's just noise.
Yeah, I think it fits in well with what Mark was just touching on there about people just following players instead of actually following the club. And I mean, it just brought a bit more negative press onto Marcus Rashford as well. Who look, he got his loan move. I think Man United fans had accepted it and moved on. And I'm sure it's the
Mhm.
last thing that Marcus Rashford wanted to see coming up on his timeline that Jadon Sancho had reshared
Yeah,
something
like
that he's
imagine you just get a notification and he's like, "Oh, bro, it's Jaden. Like, what did he say?" And he's like, "Oh, shoot." He's like, "Oh, why did he do this?" And
yeah
he's
Yeah,
probably like, "What the
I
hell?"
was going to say the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
there was two things there, right? Rashford must have been like, mate, what are you doing? Like, I'm trying to relaunch my career and get my head screwed on, and you've now put us both in the spotlight, which
Yeah.
sort of,
And
like you said, like he became a meme, like that whole thing. Oh,
yeah,
freedom,
like
freedom.
there's like a Braveheart meme going around, which I'm
I've
like,
seen it.
yeah, yeah.
The flip
And I
side
don't know
to
if
that
you guys,
is Sancho is no longer technically a Manchester United player because
mm,
there's an obligation to buy they can't get out of. Yes,
yeah
he's on loan and we're paying his wage, but he is gone.
mm,
It's just not gone yet. It's like the Bosman ruling: you sign a contract in January, but you're still at the club till until the end of the season. But you know they're going somewhere else. He's there, so he has the right to say what he wants and be salty. And the relationship breakup, Naomi, I love because that is exactly what it was. It was like, oh well, look at her compared to me. That sort of scenario. But Marcus
yeah,
Rashford must have been straight on there messaging him and just going,
like,
"What are you doing?"
bro. Yeah. And you guys remember, right, when like Sancho was announced, like Rashi announced him because he tweeted, like I think they were like drinking and relaxing and stuff, and on Rashi's account it was tweeted like announce him already and something cute like that. So, it's just like the fans' relationship with Jadon Sancho is very different from the fans' relationship with Marcus Rashford. So like he didn't need to do that, I feel like. So yeah, it's kind of weird. But it gives you a little insight into what like young people are thinking in the dressing room. Like, and I'm sure he's probably not the only one who carries that sentiment. So that made me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think it falls into a word that Mark used earlier, impressionable, and it just sums up how it's not just a sporting issue. I think it's a societal issue that you see these young people, they don't have the best kind of support around them. They get a lot of money at a young age and they think they've made it. It doesn't matter what trophies are in their cabinet. They're looking at their bank accounts, what watches they're wearing, what outfits they're wearing. And I think that's a problem that football is combating at the moment, and it's the reason why a lot of younger coaches aren't succeeding. You need a huge character now to be a top level manager, the likes of a Guardiola, Klopp, an Ancelotti. These guys that just do not grow on trees. And look, I think Amram has got a good personality there, and I really hope it works long term for him. But like that, with so many young players around, so much money in football, like it's a massive job on his hands going forward. And yeah, look, I mean, look, time will tell. We'll move on. A point I just thought about there when I was running through ideas for the show earlier on was a lot of people talk about us winning the Europa League to get into the Champions League. It's a huge financial incentive. We need it for PSR in the summer. But Jay, I mean, finances aside, would it be a good thing if we don't win the Europa League, we don't have Europe next season, we have one game a week where we can actually work on this system long term? We don't need as big a squad. He can work with players that he needs and dish out, get rid of a lot more excess waste there, clear the wage bill. Do you think it'd be better if we didn't win the Europa League and we weren't in Europe next season?
Um, yes and no. Yes, because I think it will be better. Obviously, we still have cup competitions with like League or whatever it's called now, the Carabao Cup and like the FA Cup and stuff like that. But it'd just be mainly focusing on the Premier League and on, like as you say, just focusing on the team per se and every game, sort of game after game. Whereas you European football is just too much pressure sometimes, man. Especially with this new format. Like yeah. I wouldn't mind us not winning, but at the same point, I'd love us to win it as well because it's been such a poor season. So yeah.
Mark, what are your thoughts on that one? Would you like? I know there's a nice incentive there. Win the Europa League, it's a trophy. We all want to see Champions League football, but I mean, how do you see this team fared in the Champions League next season? I mean, Jesus, you kind of dread the thought of us rocking up to Real Madrid on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, exactly that. There's so many connotations to not being in Europe. The Adidas sponsorship decrease.
Yeah.
So let's look at the financial implications. I think they said if Liverpool make it to the final, they've earned 200 million this year
It's crazy. Yeah.
from Champions League, right? So that's two world-class players they just go out and buy, which they probably need to do when they lose Salah and Van Dijk.
Yeah.
So straight away that's them. But that's not just them, is it? That's everyone else in that Champions League that makes that, or the other team makes the final, but 150, 100 million. I think it's all 8 teams that got straight through. It was all close to 100 million they earn.
Yeah.
In the new format.
Yeah.
So Champions League, we have to be in it. But we have to be in it because if we're not in Europe and we're clearing out players, who are we bringing in? Who's coming to a non-European side to help rebuild when they know it's rotting from the inside out? Because we don't know if we've got rid of the dead wood, so to speak. We don't know if we're getting rid of the toxic players until it changes. And then someone's going to point a finger at one specific player. Oh, it was him. He was the last one to go. I've seen people saying about Luke Shaw. I think he's got to think about retirement maybe at the end of the season.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
So we're hoping Rashford goes. We're hoping, some people are hoping Rashford goes. Sancho will be gone. That's 28 million. Anthony could go. The players we're losing, there's a few players we're looking to get rid of. Casemiro, Saudi is potential. But as you said, we need to bring experienced, good players in. And I'm seeing us linked with Jamie Vardy. Don't get me wrong. I would love Vardy at the club because he has done football. Like he has completed it, like from non-league to to the
Champions
top.
League. Champions League.
Won the Premier League, Champions League football. He's done every competition. Played for the national team as well. So I would take him because he's the right kind of player to have around. But is he the right kind of player in a different sense from drinking his Red Bull and having his Haribo on the bench? Yes, I would rather we weren't in Europe. I would rather we weren't in Europe. I would rather see Carabao Cup, we put the kids out and go out in the first round, or we expose them to other teams. FA Cup, maybe we go for it. But if you're going to rebuild the club, you need week on week on week on the training pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you need players, and that's where we're at. That is where that's Man United's crossroad right now. So I don't know what everyone else thinks, but yeah, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like you said, do you want to go to Champions League and get spanked by some of the best teams in Europe and feel for our fans travelling home and away to support the club, and we don't buy any players? Or we put these kids out? What exposure is that to these kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only benefit I really see is the PSR books, the qualifying. That's it, because, like you said, I mean, if you look at our record since we made the final in 2011 at Wembley under Fergie, we've only been to 2 quarterfinals since. Our record in Europe has been absolutely horrendous, and we've this is one of the worst squads we've had. But we've had decent squads under Jose and even under Ollie, and we've gotten by the last 16 on 2 occasions in 15 odd years.
Well, we should have got there last year. Come on. If it weren't for Onana throwing the ball in his net about 5 games out of 6, we actually would have won all of those games and gone into the next round of the.
Yeah.
So we've always been in touching distance, but every time you fail, your confidence just goes down. And if you don't have those guys going, no, get up, we go again. The Rocky quote. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get up, keep punching and keep moving forward.
Yeah, man, it's something Roy Keane references a lot on the overlap, isn't it? The characters that were in that changing room when he came in, and they just don't exist anymore. Just before we finish up, looking at the next 4 fixtures here in the Premier League, we have Everton away on Saturday, followed by Ipswich at home, Arsenal at home, and then Leicester City away. Naomi, how many points do you think we're getting from those 4 games? And how big a match is that game against Ipswich at home? That's a relegation 6-pointer right there.
We need 11 points. 11 points for security. That's how it was worked out.
I was literally writing the games on my calendar yesterday, and I was like, oh no. I was like, oh my God, no. So yeah, it's gonna be a few tough ones. I don't know. Honestly, it's been so long since I've seen United walk away with 3 points. And even if we did, it's just pure universe magic, God, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know, maybe 4 points. I mean, no, we're not gonna draw. So let's say 6, but I think it's probably 3.
Jay, what are you thinking from those 4 games?
Very optimistic. I was going to say 3. Realistically, 3, maybe 4.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that Everton game, and a few weeks ago, you're kind of maybe thinking you could win, but I mean, they're the most informed team in the Premier League now under David Moyes, and
Moyes is amazing.
And we're going to Goodison in their last few games at Goodison Park, and they're really turning into a fortress again. And Ipswich at home, they've won a few really big away games this season. Arsenal at home, it's probably the one game out of those 4 games we could probably win is the Arsenal game. That's the shock the way Man United are playing this season, is that we'd lose the other 3 and then beat Arsenal at home and completely fuck their title bid up. But Mark, what are you thinking from those 4 games?
I'm thinking I need a holiday or something for maybe the next 2 months, because it's not 4 games, it's 6 games, because the 2 after that are just as bad. It's Forest and City. So Ipswich is, you're bang on, 6-pointer. We have to take 3 points there.
Yeah,
I agree. The 3 points is most likely to come from Arsenal, because those players have raised for the big game, the so-called big game. We've done it all season, but then we've what I used to call doing the Liverpool. You beat the team at the top and lose to the team at the bottom.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've now turned into that side. I don't fancy us against Fulham. In fact, you know what? I'd rather play Everton at theirs than the next 3 games at ours.
Yeah, true.
That's the only other thing. I'm just looking at that and I just twigged. We're away to Everton. We're at home for the other 3 games. And they don't look like they want to step foot on the pitch.
No.
But I saw Rio Ferdinand this week. And even he was laughing. I think it's gone viral now. Like, he can't see where we get the points from to even, fight off relegation at the moment. Because he said, wherever you look. So I'm looking at it right now. Ipswich is a maybe. Fulham, maybe. Arsenal, no. Leicester, you can see Van Nistelrooy doing us, because it's just sod's law. But then Forest, City, Newcastle, Wolves, who have got a point to prove against us, Bournemouth. Then we go to Brentford in May.
Jesus.
In May, we get to Brentford and think, maybe. So that's 6. And we need 11. Then you go away to home to West Ham. Then Chelsea, and we finish with Villa.
Fantastic.
It's the worst running we could ask for right now. And like I say, we need 11 points to say guaranteed survival going on the last 10 to 15 years of the Premier League.
I think I'm going to retire until May.
This is a no. I'm just putting it out there, but...
what a cheerful conversation.
Yeah, so I think we need to start looking at ordering our championship badges for our jerseys.
The fans would be happy. I just said to Nathan earlier, the ticket price will go down in the championship.
Well, the way Ineos are working and Sir Jim is working, I wouldn't even bet on that happening, Mark. To be honest, they'll probably put them up because we'll be a premium team in the championship, so they'll put the price up. Look, guys,
before we finish, can we address what was sung at the Tottenham game?
I think what was sung? Because I actually didn't see it.
I heard the song, yeah.
So we've all heard just like the Glaciers, Sir Radcliffe's. I won't say the word because
I've never heard that one.
See you, yeah.
Okay.
But then at the end, when the players come over, I would love someone who was at the game. We've got any of the away fans who managed to get tickets. I've seen multiple videos now come out, and they were singing basically to the fans that we lose every week.
Players were.
You're nothing special. We lose every week.
We're getting used to it. We're losing every week. And you see Bruno's face, like, what the fuck? Look on his face. But they're still there. They're there, standing. All, however many thousand allocation we would have had, it would have been between 4,000 and 7,000, all locked in the thing, all singing straight back at the players because they've just had enough. And that's where they're not seeing them. Now, if anyone can clarify that is 100% and not dubbed, because let's not be funny. With AI and everything, it can be dubbed over and go viral. But if anyone's out there, I would like to know. But my friend, I can't ask because he was already out the ground as a season ticket holder at Tottenham. But that's damning on the players again. We've had them booed off at Old Trafford this season under Ten Hag multiple times. We've got everyone turning on Ineos and the Glazers, and now if the away fans are turning on the players, I think it's something we need to keep an eye on as fans. And I don't think anyone was wrong. Naomi, you said it. It was such a boring game. When you're trying, there's no boredom because you're going at it and work hard. Yeah. You think, yeah, go on, take him on. You're on the edge of your seat because that's football. But fear and boredom is 2 different things.
Yeah, I just don't think they care. I just don't think they'll ever care. I mean, we go back to when Ollie lost his job at Watford that time, and he went over to the fans, and Bruno made a big gesture to the fans, and has much changed since. I would argue that things have just gotten worse. So I mean, yeah, look, I mean, only time will tell, and hopefully things can change. long term. But look, guys, we're at the hour mark. Like you said, Mark, we'll keep an eye on that one. If we have anything more, we'll bring it in our next show. We'll bring it onto our Talk of the League show, which will be at some point this week. We'll have to chat to Nathan about that, but we're hoping to have a Talk of the League later this week and try and get a couple of Chelsea fans on. But look, Mark, Naomi, Jay, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks everyone for watching tonight. Everyone get in the comments. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the show. Please subscribe to our socials so you don't miss out on any shows. And until next time, we'll see you soon.